I need you to step out of the way because the bracket is getting updated. The Phillies are heading to the NLCS against the D-backs. That was good movement on your part.
Thank you.
Work
Feel good
there.
about it. Oh, by the way, both of our hot takes kind of came to fruition right here in this postseason because I had Phillies are the most dangerous team, and you said,
watch out for the Snakes. That is true. Watch out for the D-backs, baby.
Yes,
they're in the NLCS. The Phillies, what a game we got tonight. It was intense. Now, look, they're heading back. They do it again. History has officially repeated itself. And it was actually identical to last year where the Braves came in as the higher seed. They had home field advantage. The Phillies go into Atlanta and take game 1 on the road. The Braves win game 2. Game 3 goes back to Philly. Both years, absolute blowouts. And then game 4, the Phillies take at home as well. And the series doesn't even get back to Atlanta. We saw it here tonight, the same thing. Look, this one, it's simple for me, Alex. And this is why I said here last night, I picked the Braves to win this series in 5. But I'm changing what I think happens in game 4. I think the Phillies are about to end this. I think the series is over. The Braves look intimidated to play in Philly. The Braves look small in Citizens Bank Park. They just do. And it's a credit to that Philly crowd. It's a credit to the Phillies team, those players. They made the Braves seem like they were the lower seed in this series. History has repeated itself. The Phillies showed up. The Braves didn't. And that's what we're seeing now.
The Braves have also not been good in elimination games. They are 1-9 in their last 10 elimination games in the playoffs. Where was their offense? Because it was one of the most dominant throughout the regular season. What went wrong for their offense in this series?
Well, the Braves were the best offense that I have ever seen.
Yeah.
And I said that towards the end of the season. The Braves have the best offense I have ever seen, 1 through 9. And then you see this series, and they went radio silent. Ronald Acuna, 2 for 14. He's going to win the NL MVP. 2 for 14 in the playoffs. That doesn't cut it. MVP guy, and that's what we saw with the Dodgers, right? Mookie and Freddie went 1 for 21. Mookie Betts going 2 for 14 in the playoffs. As a team, 1 through 9, they just didn't hit. It felt like Austin Riley was the only guy in this lineup that was able to do any hitting. Nobody else was any good. The entire Braves team, all year long, one of the best offenses in all of baseball, they just didn't hit when it mattered the most in the playoffs. And that's what we're seeing. 8 runs, Alex, in 4 games for the best offense I've ever seen. 8 runs in 4 games. 3 games hitting under 200 as a team in this series.
You're not going to win when you're
this series. They had by far the most in the regular season, or the least. By far the fewest in the regular season hitting under 200. In the postseason, they did it in 3 of the 4 games. It's just not going to cut it. But the one thing I will say is the narrative I see out there has become a lot of, well, okay, look, the Orioles, they had a week off and they couldn't hit. The Atlanta Braves, a week off and they couldn't hit. The Dodgers, a week off and they can't hit. And that's what everybody out there keeps saying is this off time. Well, let me present to you a team named the Houston Astros that 2 years in a row has had that bye. And you think they give a shit what's happening? No. You just deal with it. So I do get tired of hearing it because there's nothing you can do, Alex, besides deal with it. So you have to figure out ways. If you're these teams, you got to stop making excuses. This format ain't going anywhere.
Yeah.
And you know what? The Astros poke holes in everybody's theory of this downtime hurts. This downtime hurts. Well, look what the Astros came out and did in game 1 of this season. And look what they came out and did last year after their bye. So I get it. As a former player, as a guy that hated off days because you come back that next day and your timing was just a little off, I'm now tired of hearing this narrative because whether it's real or not, which I do believe it is real, there's nothing you can do about it. So we got to stop with the excuses of, well, it was the off time. That's why we lost. No. You're the Atlanta Braves. You had the best offense I've ever seen, and nobody but Austin Riley showed up in the playoffs is what it felt like.
I will say one thing, though, because we kind of talked about this a little bit yesterday. All these 1 and 2 seeds clinched their playoff berth weeks before the season ended. The Astros were playing to even get into the season up until the very last day of the regular season. So they were very much like the wild card teams. We didn't know if they were going to get a wild card spot, if they were going to finish first in the division, if they were going to finish second. And I think that really came to their advantage this year. I mean, it doesn't explain how last year they were the only one seed that was completely fine out of everybody else to move on. But that's a big factor. Like we said, they were playing meaningful baseball up until the very last day of the regular season when they clinched the AL West on that Sunday and got the bye to get that second seed.
As were the Orioles, because they hadn't wrapped up the AL East until the last day or two of the year because the Rays were right on their heels. So they were playing for the AL East division because the Rays were still right there. And if you don't, then they were going to end up the 4 seed right where the Rays are. And that didn't happen until the last weekend of the year. They just came out, and their offense was non-existent after a week, but it was just that week because they were playing for their lives up to that last week. The other teams, the Braves, the Dodgers, yeah, their fate has been known for about a month. You just knew the Braves were going to be the 1 seed, the Dodgers were going to be the 2 seed, so I get that. But look, I do understand, but I just don't like hearing the excuses because there's nothing that you can do about it. And would you rather the bye than not have it? Yeah, you would. So once your team loses, I'm not down to hear the excuses. The Phillies just showed up, and the Atlanta Braves didn't, right? And yeah, the Phillies had to play a couple games before, but guess what? They couldn't line up their rotation the way they wanted to. So you can nitpick where you want to about what happened and why it happened. The Braves had an off week. Well, the Phillies had to play before and couldn't line up their pitching. There's reasons on both sides that make it difficult, but at the end of the day, the Philadelphia Phillies showed up and they dominated the Atlanta Braves. And the Atlanta Braves offense that was the best in baseball and one of the best lineups that I have ever seen, ever, didn't show up, and they choked in the postseason.
Well, it's crazy, too, because as we mentioned, the Braves have not been good in elimination games. The Phillies, on the other hand, they've been great. They're 14-4 in closeout games in their history in the playoffs and 14-1 in their last 15 home playoff games, which really plays into the home field advantage that the Phillies have.
That home field advantage.
It's real.
Look, that place is unbelievable. Bryce Harper talked about it last night after the game and got emotional about how fun it is playing there in Philadelphia in front of that crowd and just how different it is than everywhere else. And it really is a special place. You can feel it. You can hear it. I don't think there's a single person out there that could watch these playoffs right now and say that the Philadelphia Phillies right now have the best playoff atmosphere of anywhere. It's truly special, and it's a shout out to that crowd. When that series shifted to Philly, a series that seemed super competitive, it really wasn't very competitive once it got back to Philly. They dominated game 1 in Philly, and the Braves couldn't do anything in game 2. It got close. There were some moments for sure.
Yeah.
But once that series got back to Philly, the Phillies dominated.
And it was Dinger City tonight in Philly. So many home runs. I mean, the Braves got it started, but then it was Philly who came back, showed up, and took this game.
Yeah, to me, Nick Castellanos took this series over. And, he hit, again, multiple home runs tonight. He had 2 homers tonight. He had 2 homers last night. Alex, he's the first player ever to do that in the postseason.
Yep.
Nick Castellanos, first player in MLB postseason history to hit back-to-back home runs, back-to-back nights of multiple home runs. And then Trey Turner on the other end. Trey Turner had one of the 3. Castellanos hit 2. Trey Turner hit 1. There's your 3 runs. But Trey Turner had 4 hits on the night. First Phillies player in postseason history to have 4 hits in a game ever. I mean, a lot of history was made tonight. Ranger Suarez was great on the mound. Spencer Strider was also really good on the mound, I thought. And just no Braves offense. That was the series. That was the story of this series. The Braves offense did not show up. The Phillies did. The crowd did. Nick Castellanos did. And that's what we're seeing here now. Thanks for watching. If you love Flippin Bats, swinging 3-0, or just talking ball, join us. Call us at 213-537-9339 with your questions. We have a weekly guest, and we have a lot of fun, so hit that subscribe button.